It's been discovered that ExpressVPN's chief information officer, Daniel Garrick, was a former US intelligence operative working as a cyber spy for the United Arab Emirates in an operation called Project Raven. So the glow in the darks, they are literally working as executives in the VPN companies. Now, there is a long post about this on ExpressVPN's blog, so it's not like this is something that they're trying to cover up by any means. In fact, they knew that this guy was involved in spy activities when they hired him. In fact, that's part of the reason that they hired him, because they wanted someone who was very well versed in cyber offense to help them build up their defenses. They were just unaware that some of the spying that he was involved in was illegal. Him, along with two other former military, former US intelligence agents, had to confess to their dealing with the UAE government in this Project Raven, and they got some punishment, like being barred from doing any US government work again and getting any security clearances. Which makes sense. I mean, you can't be jumping back and forth, working for two different governments as a spy, and they also had to pay some hefty fines to avoid prosecution. Now, despite all of this, ExpressVPN has absolutely no plans to terminate Garrick because they think that their internal security is top-notch to defend against a former US intelligence, current UAE intelligence operative working as their CIO from an internal attack. So, this guy, he formerly used to work on some zero-click surveillance systems used to obtain remote access to any smartphone, both iOS and Android, made by US companies. I mean, this is the type of stuff that you would expect someone who was former US intelligence to be doing. So it seems a little wild to me that ExpressVPN has not just doubled down, but they've actually tripled down in defending Garrick. How is it that they are able to determine his loyalty to ExpressVPN? Because you got to understand, this guy, he was military trained in the US. He worked in US intelligence, and whenever you're involved in this type of government work, there's a lot of indoctrination that takes place. They try to get you to drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, because you're going to be trusted with some secret information, and the US doesn't want anybody taking that intelligence and then giving it to another government. They don't want someone just sharing those tools and techniques with other governments at their own free will. But that's pretty much what happened here. Garrick even renounced his US citizenship back in 2017 so that he could work on Project Raven. So he's completely defected. Now, luckily, the UAE is not an enemy of the US, but Project Raven is definitely not a US project. It serves the UAE monarchy by spying on their enemy governments, journalists, state dissidents, and anyone else who's critical of the monarchy. And I bring all of this up because, again, people might leave one company and work for another all the time. Even companies that are competitors, maybe they might sabotage the company that they're working at from the inside all the time. That's much more common and not as rare as leaving one intelligence agency to work for another one in another country under another government. And even if you remove the fact that he quit one government to work for another, you got to look at the type of work that he's doing. Journalists and people that are critical of the UAE's government, they're probably going to be interested in something like a VPN to maybe try and hide their activities, because obviously the ISPs within the UAE, they're probably easily controlled by the monarchy. I'm sure if they want to find something out, they can easily get that from them, just like pretty much any other government can from the ISPs present. So maybe those journalists will even decide to use ExpressVPN after their favorite YouTuber shilled it for the 1000th time. So if Garrick is supposed to be finding these people for the UAE's monarchy, do you really think that he's going to protect ExpressVPN against the tools that are in his arsenal to find these people, NSA developed or not, just to protect people who he's going to find for the monarchy? I mean, I'm pretty sure that under Project Raven, he's probably getting paid more and he's probably got more perks from the UAE monarchy than whatever ExpressVPN, the company, can offer to him. I'm pretty sure that the royalty over in the UAE is able to fund a better payroll than ExpressVPN. Now, it's actually really good for ExpressVPN that this came out when it did, because a week earlier, they announced that Kape Technology had plans to acquire ExpressVPNs, or at least for there to be, I guess, some kind of merger between them, because they're still going to remain somewhat independent, but still, Kape is going to give them $986 million. Now, if you haven't heard of this company, Kape Technologies, let me give you a little rundown of their history. So before they were renamed to Kape Technologies in 2018, they were called Crossrider, and it is a company that specialized in ad injections. You know how back in the day you would download a piece of software from the internet that does one thing, and then all of a sudden you have all these extra browser add-ons and bullcrap, and there's these additional ads that are appearing on your favorite website that normally don't even run. Like, these aren't any type of services that paid this actual website provider to show ads. They're just ads that are consistent across all sites popping up in your browser. That's the kind of technology that Crossrider was into. They were basically developing malware. But since changing their name to Kape Technologies, they claim to be more focused on internet privacy. And pretty much what they've been doing is just gobbling up different VPN companies. Like, they bought CyberGhost VPN, they bought Private Internet Access, they also acquired LTMI, which specializes in encrypting digital information and providing anonymous browser solutions. And now, for almost $1 billion, they're trying to get, seems like some type of control or some type of partnership going with ExpressVPN. So it really looks like some shady stuff is going on around ExpressVPN, both from the inside, potentially, with cyber intelligence double agent working as the CIO. I mean, just imagine the social engineering potential when someone who literally has a background in this type of stuff, well, I don't know if he specifically has a background in social engineering, but just imagine the potential if he does, and he's actually an executive there at the company. And there's this threat from the outside, which is Kape Technologies having this shady past and now trying to push itself off as a privacy company and trying to get involved with ExpressVPN. But I've been trying to speak out about the truth of VPNs for a while now, because they get shilled so often here on YouTube. Chances are that you had a VPN ad play right before this video played. But what people fail to mention is that using a VPN isn't really any different than just using your ISP normally. I mean, sure, you can cloak your real IP address if you don't have any internet protocols leaking it, which you can then use to avoid DDoS attacks. Even if someone finds your VPN IP, you can switch servers faster than just getting a new IP from the ISP. So obviously that is very convenient. And if you use an IP based in Germany or France, you might be able to watch region lock content on Netflix or whatever. And you also won't get any weird letters to your ISP about piracy if you use a VPN to pirate. So there definitely are uses for a VPN. But in terms of the privacy and anonymity, there is nothing inherent about VPN technology to keep your information private and anonymous. They can see into your activity just as much as your ISP would normally be able to. So you're just shifting the burden of trust to them. And maybe you do trust ExpressVPN's servers to run everything in RAM to prevent data being recorded, like they said in their article. Maybe you trust them when they say that their servers are only running software that is signed by multiple ExpressVPN engineers using their YubiKeys, and absolutely no glow-in-the-dark software whatsoever is running. Maybe you trust the multiple independent audits that have been done on their services, but at the end of the day, all you really can have in a VPN company is trust, and personally, I don't have much in ExpressVPN.